Hello again, Gills fans, and welcome back to Gills in the Blood TV with a difference this time, obviously with the World Cup approaching and Gareth Southgate due to imminently announce his World Cup 23 earlier than he has to. I am going to take a look at those in contention and effectively pick my 23 that I think Mr Southgate should take to Russia for this year's tournament. We'll break it down into categories, so obviously we'll look at the goalkeepers first. Then I'll pick my defenders, then my midfielders, and then my attackers. And then I will go through, fitness permitting, who I would start that first game in June when the tournament proper comes round. So let's crack straight on with it. And firstly, have a look at the goalkeepers. I think if I was picking the squad 3 months ago, I would have one slightly different to what I'm going to go with now that the season's ended. Jack Butland goes for me. I know he's endured a tough season at Stoke, but I think he's a very good young goalkeeper. And now's the right time for him to step up into the squad and really push himself to be number one. He made 37 appearances for Stoke this season, kept 7 clean sheets. Not the greatest strike rate in terms of shutouts, but in a struggling side. If I suppose you could say he's had a lot of practice, but not the greatest season he's had. And weirdly, if he does go, it would be the second time in 3 World Cups that we've taken a goalkeeper who has been relegated out of the Premier League, the last being David James in 2010. My second goalkeeper to take would be Jordan Pickford, who, again, has had a tricky season with Everton, who've been in and out of form. But he's played 47 times since making the move from Sunderland, generally been pretty consistent. Had a bit of a nightmare last day of the season, I believe, at West Ham, but all keepers make errors at the end of the day. All keepers' errors are highlighted more than those of outfield players. But he's made 47 appearances for Everton and kept 14 clean sheets in a side that's not been brilliant defensively, especially the early part of the season. So I think he's done really well. I believe he kept 2 shutouts for England as well. And these statistics are, of course, all competitions, including international football. And my final one would have been Joe Hart 3 months or so ago, but he's not played enough for me. He looks to be on the decline, unfortunately. So for my third goalkeeper pick, I'm going to go for Burnley's Nick Pope, who has had an outstanding campaign, as have his club. In all competitions, he has played 37 times for the Clarets and kept 13 shutouts. So for me, very deserving of his place on the plane. So yeah, that's my goalkeepers. I'd have Joe Hart, obviously he's still in contention, he may go, but for me I don't think he'd be first choice if he was on the plane. But that's the goalkeepers out the way, so now let's have a look on to the defenders. It looks like Gareth Southgate's going to play with 3 at the back. I would imagine, considering the last few friendlies, that is the system that he's tended to implement, and I've got no problem with that. It worked quite well in the recent friendlies against Holland and Italy. And I think we've almost stumbled across an extra centre-half after the performances of Kyle Walker in them 2 friendlies, playing on the right-hand side of a back 3. His pace is a very big asset in that position, so he can get out wide if he needs to, and then effectively he's filling in where he knows he plays anyway, as he plays as a regular fullback for Manchester City in their side. So yeah, he would be my first defender to take. He made 55 appearances this season for Manchester City and for England, and he kept 27 clean sheets. Didn't score a goal, but he did provide 7 assists from fullback, which is an excellent return for a defender. Second choice who I would take on that right-hand side as well would be the person that replaced him at Tottenham as a fullback, and that's Kieran Trippier. Been absolutely superb for me. He's really come on in leaps and bounds since joining Tottenham. Bided his time. 39 appearances this season for club and country, 17 clean sheets. Again, like Kyle Walker, no goals, but he provided 9 assists. So you're looking at a return every 4 games, an assist every 4 games, which is excellent for a fullback. On the other side of the pitch, I would go for Danny Rose, although I know he's not had loads of football for Tottenham this season. He's been a bit in and out with injuries and form, and competing with Ben Davies, who's had a stellar season for Tottenham. But for me, Danny Rose is still one of the best left-back / left wing-backs we've got available. He made 20 appearances and kept 9 clean sheets this season still, so not a bad return at all. No goals or no assists, but for me, still the best fullback available to Gareth Southgate on the left-hand side. And slightly older head as well, to provide backup to Danny Rose if needed, and that would be Ashley Young of Manchester United. 39 appearances for the veteran this year, very versatile, can play left back, can play wing back, can play both sides from midfield if we went to an orthodox 4-4-2, or he could probably play as one of a 3 behind a front man, so it would give plenty of flexibility to Gareth Southgate, and he made 39 appearances and helped Manchester United keep 18 clean sheets this season, and England. 2 goals as well, both of them came in the same game against Watford, and he provided 7 assists as well, so a very decent return, and you can see why Ashley Young has been back in the squad recently. In terms of centre-backs, I would take John Stones. Again, he's not played as regularly as he'd probably want for Manchester City, but Manchester City have some very good centre-backs at their disposal. John Stones is one of them. Nicolas Otamendi, Vincent Kompany's been back to fitness this season. They brought in Laporte as well, who's been decent, so he's got plenty of competition, but he still made 34 appearances for the league champions and helped them keep 16 clean sheets as well as the Three Lions. Scored 3 goals, provided no assists, but that's not his job, is it really? Let's be honest. I know he's a ball-playing centre-half, but he's not going to be setting up loads and loads of goals. Harry Maguire would be my next choice of Leicester. Another one similar to Nick Pope, who's come on leaps and bounds in this most recent campaign, 2017-18. Played 47 times for England and the Foxes and kept 14 clean sheets, which is an excellent return for Leicester, who were involved in a mad game on the final day of the season, so we won't take too much notice of that. They lost 5-4 at Wembley against Tottenham. But yeah, 14 clean sheets is a decent return for a club that's finished 7th or 8th in the league, I think it was, maybe 9th. Scored twice and provided 3 assists as well, and he's left-footed, which I think is great, would give us more balance if we do play that back 3. Maybe one here that's slightly controversial. I would take Gary Cahill, provides loads of experience. People may say he's not played as much as he should have done this season, but he still made 44 appearances for club and country, and he's kept 20 clean sheets as well. No goals this season for the former Bolton and Villa man, but he did provide 1 assist. And my final defender would be another Burnley player, James Tarkowski. I think has had a really good season, as have Burnley, and they've been really good defensively. A lot of their success has been built on a solid base, and he's been a massive part of that for the Clarets and for England. He's played 33 times, 12 shutouts, no goals, no assists, but I think the clean sheets ratio is really good. That's better than 1 in 3, so would for me be deserving of his place on the plane as well. So yeah, so that's my 8 defenders I've picked, and I will now move on to midfield. First choice for me is a player who's recently captained the national side, and that's Eric Dyer. I think he simply has to go. He could still be skipper, we're not sure yet. Gareth Southgate, I don't think, is named his captain for the World Cup, but he played 52 times for Tottenham this season. Can fill in at centre-back if required. Scored 1 goal and provided 3 assists. So yeah, I think he'd be a really good option. Very good defensive midfielder. He's tidy enough in possession as well, keeps it simple, which is what you want. And as I say, if needed, he could fill in at centre-half if required. Jack Wilshere, I would take. He seems to have proved his fitness finally and got himself regular games at Arsenal, which is what he wanted to do. 38 times he's featured for club and country this season. 2 goals and 7 assists for Jack. So fingers crossed he can stay fit. Excuse me, and he looks to be getting back to somewhere near his best, and I would definitely take him if fit and available. Jordan Henderson. I'm not the biggest fan of Jordan Henderson, but he captains his club, Liverpool. He seems to be a regular in the side, and unfortunately there's not many other options. I would have taken Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain instead of Jordan Henderson, but unfortunately he's been ruled out of the World Cup with a bad knee injury, which is a shame. But Jordan's played 45 times for Liverpool and England this season. Only scored once. I think one of them was that goal was an absolute worldie at Chelsea at the beginning of the season, though, and provided only 2 assists. But defensively, he's sound enough, and like I say, there's not many other options, so I would take Jordan Henderson as one of the defensive midfielders. Next up is his Liverpool teammate, another one who's had an injury hit season, but when one door shuts, unfortunately, on Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain, one door opens, and for me, that's Adam Lallana. Can play central midfield orthodox, can play anywhere behind a front man. Technically very good, both feet are very good, can pick a pass, can score a goal. And I think before he got injured, at the beginning of this season, he was just starting to really come into his own on the international front. I think he scored the goal that won Sam Allardyce's only England game in charge, and then I think he got 1 or 2 early on in Gareth's reign, before unfortunately breaking down with a few injury problems. But he is back and fit and available. Only 14 appearances for Lallana this season. Didn't score but provided an assist. Excuse me. Next up, I would take Dele Alli of Tottenham Hotspur. People keep talking about he's had a poor season by his standards. Has gone off the boil. He played 53 times. And in them 53 appearances, he was involved directly in 31 goals with 14 strikes and 17 assists. So it's not a bad player to take if he's out of form like that. He's been first class for Tottenham ever since he's joined. In tandem with Harry Kane, his Tottenham teammate, he's been really, really good. So Dele Alli definitely has to be on the plane for me. Next one, slightly surprising, Fabian Delph I would take over someone like Jake Livermore. For me, they're pretty much the same player in central midfield. I don't think they'll be starting, but obviously we have to take 23. But Fabian Delph's played 28 times for Manchester City this season, and they've won the league, breaking all kinds of records, and he can also fill in at left back if required, so a bit of versatility. So, as I say, 28 appearances for Delph, scored 1 goal and provided 2 assists. Down to the last 2 now. One who may be in direct competition with Dele Alli and who started the friendlies over him back in March, and that's Jesse Lingard of Manchester United, another player who's been superb this season, really come into his own, started to fulfil all that potential that he had as a kid. 53 games, the same as Dele Alli. And apparently Jesse Lingard's had a brilliant season. Well, he scored 14, which is the same, and provided 7 assists, which is 10 less than Dele Alli. But really good season for Jesse Lingard. Definitely has to be on the plane for me, and he's a definite contender to start. And my final one, bloody cough, excuse me, would be Crystal Palace's, or Chelsea's. I can never remember. Chelsea have got so many players out on loan. Well, Ruben Loftus-Cheek is my pick. Started the season really, really well, got in the England side, played a couple of times, looked really good, didn't look out of his depth, didn't look overawed by it. 26 appearances for Palace this season. He missed a large chunk middle of the campaign, unfortunately with an injury. Scored twice, provided 5 assists. For a young lad, I think he provides something slightly different. He can play in between the lines, can pick a pass, can unlock defences, and I think we need as much of that as we can on the plane. So yeah, I would take Ruben Loftus-Cheek. So that is all my midfielders, and now finally let's have a look at the strikers. Right, on to the front men now, the strikers that will be tasked with scoring the goals that will clearly lead England to World Cup glory out in Russia, or a relatively successful World Cup. The first man that has to be on the plane up front is Tottenham Hotspur's Harry Kane. Another phenomenal season from the front man. Incredibly didn't win the Premier League Golden Boot due to the form of a certain Egyptian from Anfield, Mo Salah. But 30 goals in the league again for Harry Kane. In total, he played 52 times for club and country in the previous season, just gone. 45 goals scored, 5 assists, so directly involved in a half-century of goals. Absolutely world class. For me, the best number 9 in world football at the moment. I'm not talking about your Messis and your Ronaldos because they're different types of footballers, but for pure number 9, fox in the box type, old-fashioned number 9 striker, Harry Kane, best in the world for me. So yeah, he's got to be on the plane. And the next one up front, who has had a brilliant season for the champions Manchester City, is Raheem Sterling. Added more goals to his game, loads of assists, and in 50 appearances for club and country this season, he scored 23 times and provided 17 assists, which is astonishing. A fit and flying and on-form Raheem Sterling could be key. I think one thing that gets levelled at him is that he needs to score more for England, and that'd be great. So what a time to start doing it. But based on club form, he has to be on the plane. And for me, he's another one that has to start the first game. Jamie Vardy of Leicester City, I would take as well. 47 appearances this season for the Foxes. They had a bit of an up and down campaign, but ended with that weird game at Wembley. Jamie Vardy netted twice in that, which took him to 24 goals in the season from them 47 games, and he provided 1 assist as well. Pace to burn. Chances are he's going to be coming off the bench if Harry Kane starts every game and Gareth Southgate goes with the 3-4-3 system. But what an option to have from the bench. Like I say, pace to burn, knows where the back of the net is. He's scored some really good goals for England against the big countries as well. And the final place for me would be for Marcus Rashford of Manchester United. For me, he can play through the middle, can play from the left-hand side, can play from the right-hand side. He's very versatile. He's got loads of pace. And he didn't play as much as he probably wanted for Manchester United this season. That's what we keep reading on social media and in newspapers. But he still featured 59 times for club and country, which is astonishing. He scored 14 goals and provided 9 assists. So he's still a kid. That's an excellent return. Considering 2 years ago we didn't even know who he was. He was playing Man United reserve team football, academy football. So that is my 23. And now coming up on the screen is who I would have to start the first game if everybody is fit and available. As you have seen from the graphic, that is my starting 11. I would go with Jack Butland in goal. Based on the premise that I think he's got more experience at international level than Jordan Pickford has. I would not be surprised if Jordan Pickford did get the nod, but for me, I would go with Jack Butland. In front of him, I would play a back 3. I would play Kyle Walker from the right-hand side of a back 3. He's been absolutely first class for years now, becomes more and more consistent with every season, taking his game to a new level since moving from Tottenham to Manchester City. Will be absolutely flying with confidence after winning the Premier League. Next to him, I would play Gary Cahill in the middle. Tons of experience, tons of big game experience, loads of caps. And I just think in what could be a relatively young England side, his experience could be very, very key. So yeah, Gary Cahill would be the central centre-back for me. And on the other side, as I've already mentioned, for the balance, I would play Harry Maguire. He can play as well, very good left foot, likes to bring it out from the back. So that would be my back 3, Kyle Walker, Gary Cahill and Harry Maguire. My 2 wing-backs would be Kieran Trippier and Danny Rose of Tottenham Hotspur. Both have got pace to burn, both solid enough defensively, both provide assists and can get up and down, have got good engines. So that would be my 2 wing-backs. My 2 central midfielders would be Eric Dyer, who I think's become a very competent holding midfielder in the Premier League. As I say, he can fill in at centre-half if required, but I'd like to see him play further forward, which would be really good. And next to him, I would play Adam Lallana. I think, as I've already mentioned, he can play anywhere in the midfield area. He can play as a central midfielder, orthodox. He can play a bit further forward. He works really hard. He's not afraid to get stuck in. Technically superb. So that would be my partner for Eric Dyer. And then my front 3 would be Raheem Sterling from the right of a 3-pronged attack. For all the reasons I've already said. He's been first class for Man City, similarly to Kyle Walker. is going to be flying in terms of confidence. He's just won the league. He's had probably his best campaign as a pro. On the other side, I would play Dele Alli, who apparently has not had a very good season at Tottenham, despite scoring 14 goals and providing 17 assists, I think it was, yet. So, Dele Alli's Dele Alli. I know there's a few that get a bit frustrated with the antics, but similarly to Gaza and Wayne Rooney going back, I think if you take that away from him, you probably lose a bit of him as a player. And up front, Harry Kane simply has to start, for me, the best number 9 in world football. If he has a good tournament, I think England have a very good tournament. So that's my 11. Obviously, everyone can be named on the bench. And just quickly, if I have to name 5 on standby in case of injuries prior to the tournament, my 5 would be Joe Hart, Ryan Sessegnon, Harry Winks, Danny Welbeck and Jermaine Defoe. Right, that is me done. Thanks for watching as always. You can comment below on YouTube. I will put it on our Facebook page. I will put it on Twitter. Let us know your thoughts. Who would you want in your 23? Who would you want in your starting 11 for that first game? How far can we go? There's going to be plenty to talk about throughout the summer. I, for one, am really looking forward to it. Not loads of expectations on us, which is good. Maybe we can just slip in up the radar a little bit and see how far we go. Thanks for your support, like I said. And until next time, up the Gills and come on England.